Alrighty, just getting the last little bits and pieces together here. Bear with me. May or may not have forgotten that my say intentions had expired. Literally, oh, yesterday, I guess. I was going to say literally today, but I guess yesterday. Okay, got that sorted. Let me show you where we are. Look at this. Look at this beautiful scenery. That's Melbourne over there. We're in Australia today. We are at Yankee Mike Echo November, which is Essendon Airport in Melbourne. It's not their big international one, but still not what I would consider small, but it's a very much like a business jet kind of an airport. It's got 2 runways, lots of FBOs, and a little bit of a gate area below us here, I think, right there. We're just waiting to see if we may get some traffic injected by say intentions. Let's see, I didn't actually check. It might not be taxi tuned or something. How are we looking? Yeah, missing airport data. Okay. That is a shame, but I should have done this yesterday or the day before and maybe taken a look at it myself. However, that's not the main reason we're here. We're going to be flying this baby. I have coined this, made this, or tweaked this livery, Charlie, Charlie, X-Ray, Alpha, Oscar, which is Flight FX's new Cessna C750, better known as the Citation 10. It's not X, it's 10. And we're sitting out here in front of Hangar 85, established in 1946. See, there's lots of FBO places here. ExecuJet over there, Southern Cross Jets. So this seems like an appropriate place to be with the Citation 10. And it is just a really, really beautiful plane. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, so we're going to kind of fake our walk around here by using one of the chase plane ground cameras, but we can move around a little bit. We've got, as you can see by default, we've got chocks set on the wheels. And we have engine covers, and we have pitot covers as well, various instrument covers. So we'll have to make sure we take those off before we try to take off. This is our Canada Air livery. We'll be flying as Canada Air 3023, which is my pilot ID, which I never do enough of, to be quite honest. We will be flying. Maybe I can actually bring that up in the EFB inside the airplane in a little bit here. I did spend the last 2 days programming a fair chunk of my hardware to get it up and running. I did actually take off in the plane yesterday briefly, though I would not consider that an actual real flight. We did not do any descending, but we did get to cruise. We got to know the autopilot, the auto throttle, which is a very nice addition, and everything worked swimmingly actually until I pushed a strange button on my CDU hardware, which I still is kind of a leftover from my CJ4 bindings, and I think I will have a quick look at that before we depart so that I don't accidentally break the airplane again. This was nothing to do with the Flight FX plane. This was entirely, it had a little bit to do with that, but it wasn't. It was mostly because I was using some outdated H events, which ended up doing some interesting things to the FMS, as in the map it disappeared. But let's go see if I can wander around here, around the outside of the airplane, have a nice look at these big engines, big long swept wings, and it comes with winglet or non-winglet versions, but I quite like the winglets. It's a very imposing looking plane, I find. It's got this chunky belly, which is kind of cool. And the engines are, see the how they're mounted kind of at a bit of an angle, that bar over there. It's very, very powerful engines, which is why we can go at Mach 0.92 and do fairly high flight levels. I think this one though, we're going up to 450, which is pretty high, but not as high as this thing can go. So let's go. Actually, let's go inside and let's look at the EFB before we do anything. Let me just quickly open some doors here. Let me open the main door so we can see we've got the chocks on, instrument covers, and engine covers. And I'm sitting at a place where I can't get ground power. I thought I had sorted this out yesterday. Let's do some magic here real quick. The ground power accessibility is fully dependent on the scenery, so it depends on whether or not this place has ground power enabled, and clearly it does not. Maybe I was at 13 yesterday. I've been at a couple here, and one of them definitely did have it, so let's just quickly move ourselves over there. This is another wonderful feature. This is from Parallel 42 of the Flow Pro. Actually, no, it's not the Pro version. I think it's just Flow. But it's wonderful. Okay, now this time we have the ground power option enabled here. Let me just go back to make sure everything works. So we'll reset the chocks, open the doors, and we might as well go and call for the ground power while we are out there. Ooh. That's screenshot worthy. Now I don't remember how to get lower with my... Either way, we can have a look. I wanted to kind of pretend to walk into the door, but I don't actually know how my bindings work with Chase Plane enough to do that. But obviously you can see the door opens, the luggage door opens in the back as well. Okay, here we go. We're back on this spot here. This is one thing that I do like about 2024 is that you can do these walkarounds much more easily. So there's all the instrument covers on there, obviously the engine covers. We can actually look into the cabin. Nice carpet. There's some red wine in there, which is fitting because we're going to have some of that once we get to cruise. Maybe before, depends on how well things go. And there's a little luggage compartment. Let's have a peek, look inside. It's not that big. But very nicely modeled, very nicely detailed. Wings are very shiny. So that's quite nice, and I believe I also have a camera view of the cabin. So there are, in the back, there's 4. We'll look on the EFB again in a moment. I believe there's 8 seats in the back here. Got a couple of other angles. Yes, there is a lavatory. Oh, that's actually, we're in it right now. This is the toilet. I have heard complaints that the toilet is non-functional. I think they're going to sell that as an add-on later on. Which is not true, but it's a joke. It is quite nice, though. You can kind of imagine what it would be like. It looks like a marble countertop, and everything is quite luxurious looking. Let's check another view. So here's another seat. We can actually do it from here. We can do it from the EFB as well. But we can serve a couple of different types of food. I don't think we can do that from here. Though we might be able to. I may be wrong. There is this thing. What does this do? thought I saw a click spot here a moment ago. Did I imagine it? Maybe. Okay. Another view. We probably should have shut that door. Here's the front door. Quite like that. See, this looks like it's a click spot for something, but I don't actually know what it does. It doesn't seem to do anything from what I've been able to tell. Let's just close this bathroom door again. We should secure that for flight. Let's go back to the EFB. We'll have a look in the cockpit here in a minute. I do quite like, well, they have quite a bit of functionality in here. You can tilt the tablet, you can move it at various angles, you can rotate it whichever way you prefer. I actually just generally use the default position here, and then I set my camera angle the way I like. You can stow it, in which case it ends up down here in this nice little pouch in the pocket, and you click on it and it just pops back up again into its default position, which I'm happy enough with that. This is my default pilot view. It's nicely tucked out of the way, so I don't even really need to stow it during flight because it doesn't really get in my way. Let's have a look at the wider cockpit while we're here. It uses, I wish I could tell you the details. It's either Collins or Rockwell FMS systems, similar-ish to the CJ4 or the CJ, the CJ4. Not quite as modern looking as what's in the Longitude, for example, but very effective systems. I personally like that it's got a CDU, which I can actually use my WinWing CDU hardware for using SPAD. Les O'Reilly, who's one of the more prominent community members, if you will, in the SPAD.next community, has been working on a module for the simulator so that SPAD can read the output of the CDU, and I believe he's also working on some more things. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be able to say that or not. Hello, Shadowlash. It is a beautiful plane. I've spent a couple of days with it. I have only flown it briefly once, but it's very pretty looking. It's got yokes that align with my force feedback yoke. I do desperately want to get some throttle detents for my Honeycomb Bravo, specifically for this airplane. I'm hoping either Flight Sim Factory or Pro Sim Desk, I think is what the Etsy username is. I hope one of them is working on those. Right now I'm using my CJ4 one, which are sufficient, but not a one-to-one match, and I kind of like that. Not much on the overhead. Actually, nothing on the overhead panel at all. It's all right in front of you. We'll go through the various camera angles here and what's important. I'll kind of step through the startup process very slowly because we have about what is that? We have 105, an hour and 3/4 left on the stream, and I believe the flight is only about an hour, so we should be taking our time here, setting everything up and going through it. So let's have another look at what's on the EFB. This EFB is similar to the one that they use. Honeywell Primus 2000. Thank you, Lifted Manatee. Yes. This is the same tablet, I believe, that they've used in the P180 and some other places. It's somewhat, there's not a lot of frills in here, but it kind of does all the things you need to do. First of all, in the configuration, you can enable the auto throttle model optionally. I like it, especially because I don't have detents on my throttle right now that are perfect for that, so works. You can switch the screen styles between CRT and LCD. It's more obvious to see that once we've got them on. I kind of like the CRT ones. They're more black. The LCD ones are a little more bluish. IRS align speed, throttle cues in the UI. Passenger visibility, whether you want to see them or not once we load them up. I always like seeing passengers in the back. Posa TOD, which is very nice because this plane does have a lot of range. So this can definitely be a long haul overnight kind of plane where you might want to pause it at TOD. I always use, because I fly for a VA, I use our ACARS, which has us built in, but I think it's great that more and more airplanes are just putting this into their EFB. You can preload a couple of states. It starts with cold and dark, as I like it. You can configure the units. We are flying in Australia, so I should at least change this to HPA. We'll leave this obviously in feet. We'll leave it in Celsius, and we'll leave it in pounds because I'm pretty sure that I planned my SimBrief flight plan in pounds. Yes, I did. So we'll leave that so that we don't have any weird issues. Calibrations for the throttles, I'm not going to mess with. I did this before. And then there are cabin layouts, so we can choose the food service. And actually, if we go choose box lunch and we go back into the cabin, does this appear on here? Yeah, look at that. I haven't taken a closer look. Let's see what's in this box lunch. This seems like a little bit of a cheap lunch considering what we probably charge for a charter. We've got a couple of grilled cheese sandwiches with, maybe it's a BLT even, an apple and some crackers. And a can of, what is that? Sunset tea, iced tea. Pizza boxes. That looks pretty good. Actually, I could do with some pizza right now. I probably shouldn't look at that. And then perhaps the plated dinner is perhaps most appropriate for this level of luxury. And you can see here we've got some soft cheeses, some bread, and some figs, I think, as well as some, what is this, cranberry, maybe? Alish berry, something, original taste. And sea mist lemon lime. Well, here's the shades. Do these work? No, they don't. Okay. Anyway, let's put this away so we don't have a bunch of cheese rolling around the airplane during takeoff later. We'll put the tray away too. But that's kind of a cool little feature. And that's kind of nice when you have people there. It's great for screenshots, especially if you're on a long cruise. You can just hop back there. Ground services we already looked at. Chocks, main door, luggage door, instrument covers, engine covers, ground power. We've got all that connected and open. We'll close those before we get going too far. Weights. This is where we're actually going to import. It's fairly basic, the SimBrief import. You just put in your ID and then you push the button. And I guess we can just do that now. There's no harm in doing it now, I think. So it's done that. It's got our fuel loaded. You can see that the seats are green, which I guess means we are full. We actually have, looks like 9 passengers in the back. We'll take a look here in a moment. Who do we actually have in the back? Is there actually somebody in the toilet? Doesn't look like it. But so it's a pretty decent sized cabin. 8 people sitting here comfortably. Comfortable for now. We haven't started moving the plane yet. The map is kind of handy. This is just an OpenStreet map that has nothing to do with your flight plan, but it gives you a nice overview of where you are, even without any sort of Navigraph, chart, subscription, or anything like that. So we are in Melbourne, and we are flying down to Hobart today, by the way, to Yankee Mike Hotel Bravo. That's where we're headed. All the way over the ocean here, across Tasmania, and into Hobart, which I don't think I've ever actually flown to. And I've never flown out of this airport either, so that's kind of exciting. Navigraph, once you've got it connected, like authenticated with it, you can then look up the airports you're at. You can get the charts. So if we open up a taxi chart, airport info, and we can see we are parked here on the southern apron. It looks like we might be getting runway 17 based on what SimBrief gave me. So we've got a little bit of a taxi past the GA apron and the eastern apron and the actual terminal, but that's okay. We'll see what Say Intentions actually gives us for this. So that's kind of handy to have. We'll leave this kind of open here. That's really all you need to do on the tablet. There's not much to do. You use SimBrief and you use it to open and close the doors. So with that said, starting this up, I watched there's a great almost 2-hour long tutorial video from one of the Flight FX guys describing in detail, step by step, how to get the plane going. So I went through that the last 2 days, mostly because I needed to get all my hardware bound, and one of the best ways to do that is to actually follow somebody in a video to see how they're doing it. And it works pretty much like any other plane. There's not really any big surprises here, so we will go look down at Not the APU yet, not the FO switches. Right here is where we want to look. These are, I think the camera is called the Captain switches. We're looking at the power panel in particular. We've got external power, we've got batteries, standby power, sort of the usual things that we would see. And to start this, we're going to turn on the external power because we've connected it, as well as the standby power. Let me see if this will work. There we go. Things are coming to life slowly. Why did my emergency light? Oh, I think I might have that down still. I want to have a real quick look at that. Really quickly, because I did kind of copy some stuff around earlier. Yeah, okay. There we go. So, but that's actually the next thing. We'll get the emergency lights armed. And we will turn on battery 1 and 2. And things are starting to come to life. Now in the video they did some things slightly different. I've changed my order a little bit. I never quite followed the same thing. I try to get away with what I can get away with, which means that I can actually, at this point, I already have turned on the avionics for both the ICAS and the avionics. So we've got all the screens ready here and visible. Everything is lit up. One of the interesting things I saw in the video that the guy going through it said you have to do the position initialization before you align the IRSs, which is different from what I'm typically used to. Typically you align the IRSs and then you get your position initialized. But in any case, with this one here, we do this first. So we're going to load the GPS 1 position. It's loaded, and then we go to flight plan, and at this point, while we wait for that, there's nothing in there. I'll show you in a minute here. We're going to load it from SimBrief. Squires, back to flying indeed. Yes, we've got a brand new Skookum airplane that looks like this. It's very fancy. Also, having just seen that, I should probably remove all the covers now. Probably should have done it before, just in case. We can leave the chocks on for now. We'll shut the doors. Everybody's on board in the back. Good to go. So now we will align the IRSs, which there's a couple of switches that are right here. And again, I've bound this to my hardware. Ideally, you just move them to a line and then wait until it flashes and then move them to nav. But turns out you can also just move them to nav, and they'll do that by themselves once they're aligned. So depending on the setting in the EFB, this takes anywhere between whatever this was, 15 seconds maybe, not very long. Now we have things on our actual display. And this is nice. This one's actually displaying the terrain. This one here does not currently. Oh, sorry. Terrain and traffic. It probably does, but the thing is I'm too zoomed in. Yes, there we go. Okay. So some of my controls I've bound for the range stuff here. Some of them I have not yet. Let's see what our actual altimeter is locally, 1015. And so we now have the plane running, battery power, GPU power. Let's go back to the flight plan here for a minute. So it does know we're in Essendon, but it doesn't obviously know where we're going yet. To do that, we go to... is it proc? What is the main menu again? I forget. It's nav, right? Yeah, nav, and then there is a SimBrief entry here. Again, you've got your ID in here already from the EFB. It seems to pull that in. We just do a flight plan recall. And it's brought it in now here with our waypoints. No departure or anything yet. We'll get that from ATC when we get our clearance. And then we'll also go through the performance initialization and all of that stuff. So let's have another look here. What else are we looking at on our screens? Pretty standard PFD, very similar to that of a CJ4 if you're used to that. Same with the MFD. Some nice things built in. There are a bunch of options down here. There is even a vertical profile that we can insert. That looks like it's already got some of our information in there. I'm gonna probably... No, actually I'll leave that on. I was gonna say I might turn that off, but the nice thing is because you have both of these, you can kind of choose to see what you want to display. So, you know, we can bring the electrical display up, the hydraulics, APU, all kinds of stuff here. So that's some stuff I still need to play around with a little bit. V-speed, takeoff speeds, they're not selected yet because we haven't done the performance initialization yet. So we'll get to that. Let me go check in with ATC real quick and see if we've got someone on the other end. Canada Air 3023, we are ready to copy our IFR clearance to Hobart, please.
Give me 1 second for that clearance. Canada Air 302, 3, Essendon ground, information Lima is current, cleared to Hobart. After departure, fly radar vectors sunny, then as filed. Departure runway 35, initial climb to 4000. Departure on 118.45 squawk, 4323.
Just read that back. Information Lima is current, clear to Hobart. After departure, radar vector Sunti, then as filed. Departure runway 35, initial climb to 4000. Departure on 118.45, will squawk 4323, Canada Air 3023.
Canada Air 302, 3, read back, correct?
Okay, so we now have a bunch more information. First of all, we can squawk 4323. 4323. I entered this in my hardware. You can do it on here. You can see how it changed. It seems to be in TARA mode automatically, so nothing to be done there. We know... Oh, let's listen to her. I should have switched the flight attendant, because this is my airline, our flight attendant, Stephanie. I think it's Stephanie. It's Caroline from England.
The flight team will make sure everything is running smoothly. Thank you for choosing Canada Air, and we hope you have a pleasant...
I'm gonna switch her to Emma, who's specifically for small jets. So we'll see. I'm actually gonna check in on the intercom right now to see what she sounds like. Hi Emma, is everything ready to go in the cabin? We're about ready to close up and start our engines.
Everything is ready to go in the cabin, Captain. Just waiting for the last few folks to board and stow their luggage. I'll let you know when we're all set.
Okay, not the most,
Hey folks, welcome to our ride to Hobart. Just a quick reminder to watch the full safety demo. We'll be going over the safety features of this Citation X, including how to fasten your seatbelts, where the oxygen masks are located, and how to use the life vests. Thank you for your attention.
Well, there we go. Okay. So, that's our squawk code, that's our cabin crew. Our departure, we are a runway 35 and there is no departure, we're just doing radar vectors. So we'll leave it in like this. And we are expecting 4,000 initially. Now, one of the cool things that it's not so important for me because I've bound all my MCP hardware for things, so I can actually change my altitude right now here. So I can tune it in, you'll see it change to 2,500. Interestingly enough, all the autopilot buttons are up here where you'd expect them to be, including the nose down and up for the vertical speed. But things like heading, speed, and altitude are not. They're down here. Course, altitude, heading, and this actually the speed one is right here on the left side. This is for the auto throttle. But so that's kind of a strange layout. I've never seen that before. And so because that's kind of difficult for people with the mouse to kind of scroll, move down there. FlightFX has added these screws here. So that's actually the heading screw. This is the altitude screw. It's a nice feature. If you don't have hardware or something like that, you don't have to look down here, which is really awkward, to be fair. Okay, so that's 4,000 dialed in. We've got our runway in there. We've got our departure in there. We can now do some performance initialization. So page 1 is just our recap. We're in full performance mode. That's a climb speed of Mach 0.8 during the climb. Most airliners fly at 0.8 during cruise. Cruise will be max speed, descent again at 0.8. Transition altitude is probably not actually 18,000 feet here. Let me just take a quick look on the Navigraph charts and see if I can find out what the transition altitude here actually is. Is there a SID that I can look at? Transition altitude 10,000. Okay, now I have not yet tried changing this. But let's give it a shot and see if that'll work. Okay. I have no idea what the impact of that is, if there is one. Initial cruise altitude 370. Now we have 450. From SimBrief. So we're going to just put that into the plane and hopefully it'll like it. So performance passengers, we can sync from EFB, which is nice. It brings in 9 passengers, fuel, cargo, everything, just what we loaded from the SimBrief plan via the EFB, so we don't have to do all this entry. We'll confirm that. Oh, there we go. Cruise, yep, 45. Maximum altitude, I guess, is 470. Estimated time, 51 minutes. Okay, so we have plenty of time. Now for the takeoff data, runway 35, surface it's 9 degrees. Let's see if we can get the wind real quick from the ATIS.
Requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information Golf.
Interesting. Clarence said it was Lima, but Gulf. Okay.
Melbourne Essendon Airport. Information Golf. 0155 Zulu. Wind 015 at 11. Visibility 6. Sky conditions. View at 3600 feet. Broken at 1310 feet. Temperature 10.4.
Okay. So wind is 015 at 11, and temperature, I guess, was 10 degrees Celsius, so pretty close. It had 9. It already has the slope for the runway. It is dry, and wrong one. Next, we do not need any anti-ice. Flaps 15, I guess, is the normal departure flaps or takeoff flaps. And we will confirm that. Then the takeoff data. Here are our V speeds. And as soon as we get to this page, I think that means they're now entered. No, I don't see them on the PFD just yet. But I think they will just show up after. So let's leave it on this page here for now. Okay. So that's pretty much our FMS configured. We've got squawk code, we've got the altitude dialed in. We are going to be doing runway 35. That is a heading of 346. So I'm just going to set the heading bug to 346 as well. I might need to work into some acceleration on my knobs here. This is kind of painfully slow to go around the heading knob 346. We'll get that lined up. And at this point, I think we can start up the APU. And I quite like the way you have to do that in this plane. So there's actually a APU system panel here on the right side of the FO. This is a real good indication that you actually need more than one pilot. required to fly this airplane, because for the pilot in the left seat to have to reach over here, that seems like not a great system, and it's not meant for that, of course. So we will turn on the APU master, brings this to life, and now we will start it. So I hold down the start button for a sec, and you can see the RPM coming up, and if we go outside, we can listen to it. This APU starts up very quickly. The RPM is over 100 now, which means we can turn on the generator and the bleeds. And that's always a nice sound to hear. Air conditioning is on. That's what you get, Axeman, for running over the tarmac. You're not supposed to be one of those. Are you supposed to be in my lavatory in the airplane? We can probably squeeze you in the bathroom. If you didn't see it earlier, it's actually not a bad bathroom. See, it's pretty good. This is a really comfortable looking toilet, to be honest. Unfortunately, the lid doesn't open. So our APU is on. It's providing power. In fact, if we look at, I don't know if we can see this easily in here. The APU screen, though, we do see 100% RPM, and the EGT is up. Does the electrical doesn't really tell us anything here. Or maybe it does, and I don't know what it tells us. That's also possible. You'd like the pit in the floor, yeah. So, that means we can now turn off the external power, the ground power, and we can dismiss it. So we can tell them, thank you very much for the ground power, we don't need you anymore. We can also release the chocks. So we're now just sitting, we've got the park brake on, but the airplane is now under its own power from the APU, which means we are ready to start our engines. I don't think we're necessarily going to need the EFB again, but I will bring up the airport chart on here. It doesn't look like I can draw on this one. So again, the EFB is, it's a little bit basic, but it's fully functional. It does everything you need it to do. So let's ask for engine start permission here from ground. Canada Air 3023, ready for engine start.
Canada Air 302, 3, engine start approved.
Okay. Engine start in the Citation 10. And I say this sounding like an expert, which I'm not, but I watched a video yesterday, so that makes me as much of an expert as anybody. It's very simple. Engine start button, followed by moving the throttle out of the cutoff zone. So, and followed by, meaning once the N2 reaches, I believe 15, I think. So we will go over here. We will press the engine start button. You can hear the bleed power being redirected to the engines. We can see up here, right there, turbine. It's already at 15. You can see it up on this sort of more old school display as well. And I have hardware, so I'm actually going to move the throttle out of cutoff position, and you can see it fire up. And Boris did the sound for this plane, of Boris Audio Works. And I did not expect this plane to bark like an Airbus, but you can hear it in the background, the hydraulics. I'll be quiet for a moment. And the plane will keep barking until both engines are started. So I'm going to go to this outside camera so we can see the left engine start. So we'll do the same thing. I've got it bound to hardware so I can do it from out here. I press the left hand engine start button. I'm watching the turbine percentage. 15. Engine out of cutoff mode. Throttle out of cutoff. And there it is. No more barking. Plane's quiet. 2 engines. Looking good at this point. In the tutorial video, the guy did not turn off the APU until he was at like 30,000 feet or something like that, almost a cruise. I think he forgot though, because typically at this point you would turn off the APU. So that's what I'm going to do. Turn off the APU bleed, the APU generator, and we'll shut off the APU master. We don't need it. We've got engines providing power to the airplane now. Oh, and I forgot everything else about lights. The lights are in an interesting spot. They're kind of over here. We should have had anti-collision or nav and recock lights on. Ground recognition lights on with the engines. We don't need the tail light. We should have had our pack safety things on as well, which I believe I saw that the exit lights are actually illuminated now in the cabin, which I guess it's this light here. Let's see, does that actually change? Don't think it does. Oh, that doesn't, but I think this down here does. Who opened this table? Did they do that? You guys help yourself to stuff? We're about to take off. You gotta turn that off. Yeah, so if I turn it on, the fasten seatbelt and no smoking signs come on. Very, very important. We do not want simulated smoking in our simulated cabin. That is a very bad idea otherwise. So, engines are running. We'll get the taxi light, which is yet again in a different spot. Taxi landing lights are back here. For some reason. For some reason they're back here. So we'll get the taxi light turned on. We'll ask for taxi clearance in a second. We'll get the flaps out to flaps 15 for our takeoff position. And we can kind of watch them extend out one of the windows. None of these are great views, but this one will do. You can kind of see them come out. They're very quiet, of course. Okay. There are checklists, by the way, built into the sim. I just don't use them. But for those that are interested in that, it's in there, all described step by step. I don't believe there are any built into the plane itself, however. By the way, back to the V-speeds. We had them here. They are now appearing in the PFD as well, including 170, which is our initial takeoff speed or climb speed there. So that's all good. The auto throttle, the way it works is as soon as you arm it, it's going to start flying in it. It'll start applying the auto throttle. So we're not going to do this until we can do it right on the runway, or we probably do it shortly after takeoff, like after wheels are up. Maybe the flaps are up as well. So let's request our taxi clearance while we look at this. Ground Canada Air 3023, request taxi.
Canada Air 302, 3. Taxi to runway 35 via Bravo, cross runway 08, then Kilo, Kilo.
Okay, runway 35. Taxi to runway 35 via Bravo, cross runway 08, then Kilo, Kilo. Canada Air 3023. Bit weird to have Kilo, Kilo, but I'm assuming it's probably got this in the taxi thing here. This is not a taxi-tuned airport, so the data that Say Intentions has access to is only as good as the flight simulator provides, and by default, most of them are pretty poor. But it's pretty straight at taxi, down the southern apron, Bravo to here, Kilo, cross 08, Kilo. I guess it should have been Kilo, cross 08, Kilo, and then down to 35. So that's easy enough. And let me buckle in, aka set the parking brakes on my wheels chair so that I don't roll away. Well, that would be bad. By the way, one of the other things that they have done, somewhere in here is a hidden takeoff click spot us way, but it's basically this button here. If we press this, it'll just put our flight director into TO into takeoff configuration, so straight and looks like about 12 degrees up. So we want that as well. Taxi light is already on, engines are on, flaps are at 15. That's actually another interesting point. Flaps are 15 and showing indicated. Our stab trim needs to be in this green band for takeoff, so we'll just pull that down. There we go. And we'll put it right in the middle of that, somewhere there. We still have some messages on the ECAM here, but they will go away once we get there. Forget when this goes away. I really don't remember, but I think they just... Oh, pitot heats. We want those. That'll clear something. The no takeoff one is entirely based on the park and brake. So, park and brake off. Everything there is clear. The pack HP valve open left and right. I don't recall what that's for, but it's in white, so that tells me it's not a problem. So we'll go with that. If it was in blue, I think it would be more of a warning thing. Let's get ourselves off taxiing. This thing taxis quite easily. It doesn't need very much thrust at all to start moving. And the nose wheel steering axis works. One of the things I said about this plane is that the hardware support is quite excellent. I wouldn't say it's the best I've ever seen, because the best I've ever seen would have its own SDK and things like that, but it does use LVARs that are relatively easy to use and they make sense.
Cabin crew, all doors in flight and cross-check. Hey folks, welcome to our ride to Hobart. On behalf of Canada Air, we're thrilled to have you on board this Citation X, Flight 3023. Our captain today is Jan, and the first officer is Lily. Joining me in the cabin are my wonderful crew members, Sarah, Tom, Jake, and Mia. Now let's go over some important safety information. First, to fasten your seatbelt, insert the metal fitting into the buckle until you hear a click.
We're going to let Emma
To
talk
release
and then
it,
I'll continue.
Simply lift the buckle. Please keep your seatbelt fastened whenever you are seated, as we may experience turbulence. In the unlikely event of a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop down from the panel above you. Pull the mask towards you to start the flow of oxygen. Place it over your nose and mouth and secure it with the elastic band. Remember to put your own mask on before assisting others. Now, regarding the life vests, they are located under your seats. To use them, pull the vest out, slip it over your head, and pull the straps around your waist. Inflate the vest by pulling the red tabs or by blowing into the tubes.
Look at the heat blur.
In the event of an evacuation, please leave your luggage on board. Your safety is our top priority. As for the emergency exits, there are 2 at the front and 2 at the rear of the aircraft. Please take a moment to locate the nearest exit, which may be behind you. We expect our flight to Hobart to take approximately 52 minutes. The weather there is a pleasant 13 degrees Celsius with no precipitation. Thank you for your attention, and please remain seated until we have arrived at the parking area. After our meal service, I'll be coming around with some articles from the Canada Air Shop. Jan, the cabin is ready for departure.
I don't know if Emma is really all that tuned in for a small business jet, to be honest. But anyways, I was saying the LVARs make sense. The one thing that I found a little bit confusing is that there are a lot of B events, and for those of you that ever play with hardware assignments and stuff, you'll know what that is, that are present, but they don't seem to actually be in use. So that's a little bit confusing, because you'll see them and like, oh, excellent, there's just a B event for this switch. But they don't actually do anything, and their values don't change either. I heard that they're just being used for tooltips or something like that inside the virtual cockpit. But anyway, the LVAR support seems to be sufficient. It works. The CDU data can be accessed, even though it does require somebody like Les O'Reilly to build an add-on, which is, you know, it's about par for the course. I wish that more developers would include it, but it's fine. This is considering the price point for this plane, it's only $30. And I would say it's quite high fidelity. I don't know if it's study level. I'm not a pilot. You know, all all the things that I
Canada Air
needed to do,
302.
it
3,
does.
contact tower on 125.1.
Tower on 125.1, Canada Air 3023. See ya. The brakes work really well. So far, there are a few things that I still need to try to bind on my hardware, like minimums, and I'm trying to see if I can get the range for the MFD onto one of my other pieces of hardware. But all the critical things and components seem to work in the hardware, and that's always a relief. Just means that I can actually use all the stuff that I've spent a whole bunch of money on. So, we have taxied here now. We are holding short. We'll call for our takeoff clearance here in just a moment, while our lovely flight attendant gives us a cup of coffee. Thank you very much. I love you. Let's take another quick look outside, because this, I love every time I bring the camera out here and you get the blur from the engines. It's so good. It's a small thing, but it looks so good. Beautiful airport scenery here. I think it's Orbex that made this. I don't quite recall. Bright lights, that's good. We're going to turn on our landing lights as well, even more brighter lights, and we'll turn on the strobes, which are, I think they call them, they don't call them strobes in here, they call them ground recognition and anti-collision. Oh, that's a typo. Isn't it? That should be anti-collision. There's no way this should be it. Hang on. Let's take a screenshot of this, because that's funny. This is the kind of bug I can get behind. Alright, I think we are pretty much all set here to line up. We'll get our clearance from the tower. Tower, Canada Air 3023, holding short runway 35, ready for departure.
Canada Air 3023, Essendon Tower, runway 35, wind 03014, cleared for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 35, Canada Air 3023. Okay. Again, it taxis really nicely, really smoothly. Like it's not all jerky all over the place, which a lot of planes in 2020 particularly have problems with. I don't remember how smooth it was during the takeoff rolls. We'll figure this out in a second. Okay. Because I have the auto throttle system enabled, there is a real easy way for me to basically just turn that on and we go from there. Otherwise, there are detents here for climb, cruise, climb, takeoff / MC, and max. Like I said, I'm hoping to get detents for this for my Honeycomb Bravo at some point. That would be excellent. For now, though, I will probably just move it forward enough until we get it into the takeoff detent. And we'll do this without the auto throttle until we get cleaned up. Let's give it a try. Okay, that's the takeoff detent. And by the way, one of the settings, this thing here going green to takeoff, that is that setting on the EFB to sort of show you that. Speaking of ESBs, I'm going to stow this to get it out of our way and then release my brakes. Alright, here we go. Curious to see how easy it will be to hold center line. V1 is 121. It goes quick. This thing's a rocket. V1, rotate. V2. Get up to, oh, not quite that high. Gear up. It does like to go, like nose likes to go up. I'm just following the flight director for now. But what I can do at this point here, if I turn on my auto throttle, you'll see that turn to green and it's in takeoff mode. And if I go flight level change and heading select, I can actually get the autopilot on. Contact departure, Canada Air 3023. Departure, good day, Canada Air 3023, climbing through 2,300 for 4,000. So it's still at 170. It's holding us because of the flaps.
3023, Melbourne departure.
I just moved the flaps up to 5, so it switched to 210.
Vectors to sunny, then own navigation.
Okay. Climb flight level 420, turn right heading 160, vectors to Sunty, Canada Air 3023. So right turn 160. Let's get that in first, so we can do that. Get some more flaps. Go flaps all the way up, which should make it go to 250 on the auto throttle, which it has indicated there. Heading 160 and flight level, we want to go all the way up to 420. Okay, that is set. I can see how you can see how the dashed blue line here is putting us on a nice intercept course to the magenta line, which is our GPS track. That will take us to Sunnet, or Sunty. And I think I'm going to try this. I'm going to arm LNAV, and it does come up as green, so it is armed. And once we intercept that, or we get close enough to the magenta line, it should switch over to LNAV mode. Now, real quick check. The flaps are up. No spoilers or anything are deployed. Everything is clean here. The gear is up. And we've got 3 greens somewhere. Where are our lights? Well, actually, there are no. They're just off. Okay. And it has actually switched us to the climb detent because it is in N1 climb mode for the auto throttle. So if you didn't have the auto throttle and you had detents in the hardware, then you could do that yourself. You could move it into that climb detent there. I find it a little bit tricky right now, and I'm a big fan of auto throttle because I'm a lazy kind of pilot. This thing climbs quite quickly. We're climbing at 4,300 feet per minute, which is literally off the scale. It only goes up to a 3, as you can see, but it's 4,000 now. Still only going 250 because we're under 10,000. That'll change here any second now. As we cross the 10,000 mark, we are going to turn off the landing lights. I wonder if it's going to start flashing at us for the transition altitude. It is not, but we are going to set it to standard at this point. And you can see now it's going to speed up to 300
we're now cruising at a
knots.
safe altitude, and I'm pleased to inform you that the use of electronic devices is now allowed. Feel free to connect to our onboard Wi-Fi service as well. We expect our flight to Hobart to take approximately 52 minutes. The weather there is a pleasant 13 degrees Celsius with no precipitation. Thank you for your attention, and please remain seated until we have arrived at the parking area.
The vertical profile down here, I really like this. You can see the prediction is that when we get to Sunty, we'll be at flight level 203, 204. And the more I change the range, you know, the more it'll go up. So we actually have this for the climb as well. And it's obviously going to be much more useful for the eventual descent. But still, very handy to have that here. We'll be using it for the descent for sure. We can also turn on VNAV. We'll put it into VNAV flight level change, which I think if there were any restrictions, they would show up. Now, we're not flying a SID, so there aren't any restrictions, so it really doesn't matter. But I like having it on because so many planes release these days without VNAV, and everybody gets upset about it. So, you know, having the VNAV on here is it's just nice. It's just one of those things that, like, to me, a functional, complete airplane will have VNAV, provided that that's what the real plane has, of course. It's fairly nice and quiet. It does have, if you recall earlier, in the EFB there is a setting for active noise cancellation, which I've bound to a button. So if I just want to drown out the noise a bit. Active noise cancellation enabled. I quite like this, especially if I'm doing long flights or something and I'm talking with friends in Discord, or I'm watching a YouTube video or something, so I don't have this constant droning noise of the engines. Well, not really the engines, it's more the air conditioning and the bleeds that you hear most. So I think the Vision Jet has this, the Honda H-Jet does as well by Flight FX, so I'm glad that they brought it into the Citation 10 as well. It's a nice feature. But I'll turn this off again so we can actually hear the airplane. And we'll go outside for a bit here too. Real quick update, we have captured LNAV now. We got close enough to our magenta line, so we are now flying LNAV to Sunti and beyond.
Canada Air 3023, contact Melbourne Centre on 124.0.
Melbourne Centre 124.0, Canada Air 3023. Melbourne Centre, Canada Air 3023 with you climbing through flight level 215 for flight level 420.
Canada Air 3023, Melbourne Centre, identified. Good afternoon.
Well, we got a real Australian there. Very nice.
Canada Air 3023, Melbourne Center, climb flight level 450.
This guy cracks me up. Up to flight level 450, Canada Air 3023. Still climbing. We're already at flight level 285, and it's still climbing at 2,000 feet a minute, so it's a pretty quick climber. And that's at 300 knot. It's like it's flying at 0.77 Mach and climbing at 2,000 feet a minute. The color inversion on the tail? Yeah. That was something new I did on this one, because it kind of... I debated that a few times, but I kind of like it. It's a little more unique, this livery. It's also shiny, more luxurious than our typical airliner liveries. Hey, Steve. Yeah, it's a really nice plane. I have been waiting for a... I don't want to say I've been waiting for a good business jet, because the business jets we have are not bad. The CJ4, ever since Avionics Update 2 a couple of years ago now in 2020, is very good and solid. Supports a lot of hardware. The Longitude got a lot better not too long ago. Flight FX's own Vision Jet is really good, though it's a slow one, of course. The Honda Jet, the H-Jet, is very good, though I don't like its sounds. For some reason, those sounds bother me. But again, very good airplanes. So, but I was looking for something that has longer range, because I like to do longer flights. Can also do short-range flights, like little hops for like an hour or two. Looks good, has systems that work with my hardware, i.e. not just a bunch of glass touchscreens that I can't really make use of. I wanted things where I can bind all the stuff. I just realized I left the taxi lights on, so I turned those off. Has a cabin with people in it, like this one does. As a matter of fact, let's go. I think it's time to serve them some snacks. It has SimBrief support. It has all the nice things. Is it under config? Yeah. Let's do pizza. Oh, you only get pizza on the one side? Sorry, folks, we just got the one pizza. How about a plated dinner? Does everybody get plated dinner? I guess it just goes on this one side. It's got a toilet. The range is something like... what is the max range? It's significant. It's 6,000 or 7,000 miles? Maybe it's not quite that much, but it's a lot more than... Okay, sorry. Standard range is 3,460 miles, but still. That's,
to arrival. I'll start your descent in about 10 minutes. Notify if you're ready to descend before that.
I'll expect a Morg 3 Victor arrival in about 10 minutes. Canada Air 3023. So, sorry, it's not quite as
Canada Air 302,
large as I thought,
the
but...
Morg 3 Victor arrival in about 10 minutes.
Roger, Canada Air 3023. But I did, when I made a tour for us. In fact, I think once we land, if there's a bit of time or afterwards, I am going to set up my first overnight flight in this plane. And let's see, what is the longest? Okay, so it's a 6-hour flight, 2,650 miles that I set up from Vancouver to Honolulu. That is a flight that I'm going to try tonight. You should definitely buy this. It's really good. It's available. It's only $30. It's only available in the marketplace. And it is for Flight Simulator 2020 and 24. So you buy it once, you get it for both. Comes with winglet and non-winglet versions. So I mean, that's really just, small change. But it is, I think, for $30, 100%, absolutely a must-buy. I cannot really think of any reason not to pick this up at that price. There are planes out there that cost double or 3 times as much that are on the same par. Now, granted, some of those are like bigger airplanes, but realistically, what's the difference between a really big airplane and a small airplane in a simulator, other than range? And this plane has plenty of range, so you can do lots of long flights with it. Plus, you can fly super fast, so we're just getting to cruise speed now. We're about to hit flight level 450. And we're already flying at Mach 0.8, and we are now targeting Mach 0.88 for our cruise. And that's not even the max. I think it'll speed up after that if we get to 0.88. Now, I'm a little bit curious as to when we get our top of descent, so we should look at that here.
Hey folks, welcome to our ride to Hobart. We're currently cruising at a safe altitude, and we'll be starting our snack and drink service shortly. We have some delicious options available, including gourmet cheese platters and refreshing
So let's go to our arrival.
After the service, I'll be coming around with some articles from the Canada Air Shop. So
It looks
keep
like
an
they're
eye
going to
out for
give
that.
us RNF
Please remain seated until we have arrived at the
W30.
parking area. Thank you.
So runway 30. Lost my mouse cursor somehow. RNAF. Let me see. That's just final. We don't really... These are odd approach names. What is it? No, I don't want vectors RNAF Zulu. I don't want RNAF Zulu. Okay, for some reason... Wait, did I miss a step there? RNAF Whiskey, vectors, and the star, Morg 3 Victor. And we'll activate that. I think that should be fine. Okay. Now, we have got a TOD marker on here as well. And in our vertical profile display, you can actually see the TOD marker right there. And then if I zoom out a bit more, there we go. I mean, it's a bit hard to read, but you can see the vertical profile all the way down. And I'm just going to verify here real quick on our flight plan if we have any restrictions put in. Yeah, we've got above flight level 130 and then below 130, above 6,000, and I think that's probably the FAF at 2,510. So I'm just going to check. Let's check it in the plane, shall we? I was going to say I'm going to check it on my iPad with Navigraph, which I will, but I'm also going to just check it in here. So one thing I wish this did, I wish that when you import your flight plan, that it would automatically pick the airports from that, because I'm not a huge fan of having to search. It's like you know what I'm flying. You've got my SimBrief connection. I shouldn't need to go and do this. So here's RNAF Whiskey runway 30 and HB 510 max 175 knots, and that was actually in there as well, and the altitude 2,510 mandatory. And we've got that checked in here. These are really the most important ones, because this is what the VNAV profile is going to be based on entirely, is to get to this point at that altitude. And this is an at, not above or below or anything. This is at 2,510 exactly. 175 knots, 3.1 degree slope. So according to this, if that VNAV path does a good job at calculating itself, which I don't have any experience with because I have not yet descended in this plane, but if it's based on the CJ4's logic that Working Title built initially, then I have high hopes. Let's actually put the star on here as well and have a look at that. Morgo 3 Victor RNAV approach, or sorry, RNAV arrival. So we'll be coming from the north, from up here. And we're going to be flying this little loop and then into the approach. So this should be a moving map. Oh, this is okay. That fits the whole thing. Okay. So at some point when we get to Morgo here, we should see ourselves on that. We're a little ways away from that yet, though. So we can spend a little bit more time looking outside. Here's the wheels and the wheel well. That's good. We took the wheels with us. Very important. Some nice views out of the windows. Very nice and quiet here in the back of the cabin. Nobody's eating our snacks, though, unfortunately. They don't seem to be hungry. Pretty smooth flight, though. Yeah, I love it when developers put people in the planes, especially when they're small ones. I don't really need to see 200 people in the back of an Airbus. But if you're flying something that has, you know, less than 10 passengers, I like to see them. And I know that it's a valid point. Some developers saying, oh, you know what, the lighting is really crappy. It doesn't work well. True, this is not great lighting, but I'd rather have these than not.
Canada Air 302, 3, descend via Morg, 3 Victor into Hobart.
Descent via Morgo 3 Victor into Hobart, Canada Air 3023. Now, the way VNAV works in this plane is similar to a Boeing. We just have to dial down our altitudes. So I'm going to set it down to flight level 130, which is one of the points we know for sure on the star. So we'll just go with that. I could dial it all the way down to 2,510, but I suspect that Say Intentions ATC is going to give me more steps along the way. So that's armed. Path is armed. We're in VALT, so VNAV is already on. So once we hit the TOD, we should start descending on our own, just like a Boeing would do, and like the CJ4 does as well, to be fair. Now, I will say, fair warning, the one thing I have not been able to bind yet to my hardware is the reversers. So we're going to be landing without thrust reversers. So to that point, I don't actually know how... we won't see this in action. I just don't have bindings for it because I had to make a decision between the fuel cutoff or the reversers, and I found the fuel cutoff more useful for me at this point. It's a long runway. We don't need that much. We should be able to come to a stop without that and just speed brakes, for example. So you can actually see the VNAV diamond here has appeared, the magenta. It's not a diamond, I guess it's a half a diamond, it's an arrow. I would expect this is going to slowly come down as we get closer to TOD. You can see it on the vertical profile here, we're getting close. And again, the auto throttle should change us to out of cruise speed into... our descent speed should be Mach 0.8 or 300 knots. So I would expect the engines to start idling. Here's V path. Altitude select is armed. There comes the little diamond. I'll just call it a diamond because that's what is in all the other planes. Speed has switched to descent. Throttles are spinning down.
Hey folks, we're currently descending towards Hobart International Airport. Please return to your seats and ensure your seatbelts are securely fastened. The use of lavatories is no longer
And
permitted at
the
this time.
commanded speed is Mach 0.8.
And we'll keep you updated on our progress.
Things got
Thank
really
you.
quiet with the engines on idle pretty much. Now, did this move the levers? Throttle levers? Yes, it did. Pretty much pulled them to idle. So that's all really, really nice and straightforward. This still says CLB, I think, because that's where my physical throttles are at the moment. I'm going to just leave them alone because if I move them, it'll disconnect the auto throttle because I set that as a setting. I think I'm going to land with the auto throttle on and see how that works. One other thing we haven't really looked at is the performance for the arrival. So we've got this all programmed in, but we need to find our landing speeds. Perf landing. We have got runway 30, 8,000 feet. Let's see. I don't think I can get an ATIS. I'm going to get a digital ATIS from Pocket Sky through Say Intentions. So Yankee Mike Hotel Bravo. And autocorrect changed it to MUBA. Thank you, iPhone. Now changed it to Thumb. Thank you very much, Apple. How about you don't autocorrect my ICAO codes? Hobart Information Lima. Wind 355 at 3. So let's put that in there. 355 at 3. The outside temperature is 13 degrees. The altimeter, I think this must be the barometer. It should be, let's see, if I do 1015, can I put that in there? I don't know why it says minus 40. Oh, that's the pressure, but the barometer 29 or 9 or 7, that sounds about right for 1005. And actually the wind is, sorry, it's not that, it is 100 at 3 because I forget I am using Active Sky. There we go. Next page. Runway is dry. And we are going to be landing without anti-ice full flaps, so 35. And that will be our landing data. We've got 8,939 feet of runway. We're expected to use 3,030. So even without thrust reverses, we have got plenty of space. The headwind component is just 1 and 2 from the side, so nothing big there at all. And here's our respeeds. VAP 126, VREF 121. And that is pretty much us set for our landing. I'm just going to center the heading bug. And we can have a little breather as we're having a nice descent of about 2,500 feet per minute at Mach 0.8. VNAV's doing a great job so far. Very smooth.
Canada Air 3023, contact Melbourne Centre on 123.35.
Melbourne Centre 123.35, Canada Air 3023. Melbourne Centre, good day, Canada Air 3023, descending on the Morg 3 Victor arrival, currently flight level 280.
Canada Air 3023, Melbourne Centre identified. Good afternoon.
Alright, let's zoom in on our map a little bit so we can get a slightly better view. We're still not quite on our moving chart here on the tablet, but we'll be getting there soon. There's more go.
Canada Air 3023, Melbourne Centre, descend flight level 130.
Ah, see, I guessed at that level already. Descent flight level 130, Canada Air 3023. Usually it'll give you step altitudes for some of the constraints on the arrival. So we'll get flight level 130. We'll probably get 6,000 at some point. Transition level is flight level 110. And then the barometer will be 1015, so not a huge change, which is good. So now we are, you can see the speed has changed to 300 knots, no longer Mach 0.8. So on the climb it's whatever is faster, and on the descent it's whatever is slower, I guess. One thing I still wish that was easier to do in Say Intentions is to see what the frequency is for the ATIS of your destination. Right now it's showing me the various frequencies for the nearest airport, but not the one I'm flying to. I wish I could toggle between that. I should probably ask them that, make a feature request or something. Okay, so we're just about to reach Morgo. There we go, within 1 mile, it starts flashing. We've now also shown up on the map on the EFB, we're right here. And we are at flight level 168, so we are above, and that's fine because the restriction is above 130. Now by Poxit, we should be below. So somewhere in between here, we're going to be crossing through flight level 130. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully ATC will give us a lower altitude sooner before we get there. If not, we will just ask for it, I think. Because I don't really want to get behind the altitude on this plane because I'm not familiar with it, so I'd like to have a smooth descent, not one where I have to fight and go vertical speed to catch up or something like that. Not on my first actual descent.
Canada Air 3023, contact Hobart approach on 125.55.
125.55, Canada Air 3023. Hobart approach, Canada Air 3023, descending through flight level 150 to flight level 130.
Canada Air 3023, Hobart approach identified. Good afternoon. Expect the RNAV Whiskey runway 30 approach into Hobart.
Expect RNAV Whiskey runway 30 approach, Canada Air 3023. We'll get busy here soon on the approach, so we'll go and fill up our glass of wine. And let's ask for altitude. Canada Air 3023, request lower altitude.
Canada Air 3023, descend altitude 12,000 feet, QNH 1016.
It's not much lower, but we'll take it. Descent 12,000 feet, QNH 1016, Canada Air 3023. 1016, set. That is synced across both the PFDs. Now, I changed that, and it's not descending anymore, so do I need to... It is in VALT, but path is armed. Okay, we're above... Okay, I see. It's calculated a new TOD. Apparently. So the initial descent path, I guess, was a bit aggressive, maybe? I'm not sure. This is curious. We'll see. Let's also switch this to speed cruise, but I think that's just because we're leveling out, and it's really just going to be going 241. It's an interesting 241 instead of 240, but okay, we're just going to ride it out and see how it goes. V path. Alright, here we go again. It's a descent. Oh, see, this is interesting. Now it's speeding up to 300 again. So it got a little bit confused, I think. Because we leveled out, it started slowing us down, and now we are descending again, so it's speeding up again. This is all above 10,000 still, so these speed limits are okay. They're just a little bit back and forth. I wonder if we're going to stop here at 12,000 feet again. Yep, and now it's going to slow down again to cruise speed, which it calls cruise speed, and back to 241. So I don't mind that, because one of the things that's nice, see, we are now above profile because ATC hasn't given us another step, so that it does slow down at least, so we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves here. Hopefully, last time I asked ATC, it only gave me an extra 1,000 feet, so I'm going to see if I can ask for 6,000. Canada Air 3023, request descent to 6,000 feet.
Canada Air 3023, descend altitude 6,000 feet.
Descend 6,000, Canada Air 3023. Now, because we are above the path, it's not going to do it for us. So I'm going to switch to flight level change. It is still VNAV enabled flight level change, and I think once it catches up, it'll switch back to V path. This is kind of my guess based on how this CJ4 works. Well, I'm also going to apply some speed brakes to help us descend faster, because our throttles are on idle. So that's going... Yep, now we're descending further. Almost at 10,000. Let's get the lights on. It's always actually nice to see how the plane reacts when you put it in a situation where you're telling it to descend via a flight level change, and then you're pulling out the speed brakes to force it to descend faster. Okay, we're catching up on the Magenta Diamond, so we should be switching back to path here, I think.
Hey folks,
Thanks,
we're
Emma.
now on our final approach into Hobart.
There we go,
Please
V
turn off
path.
your electronic devices and stow them until we've
Spoilers
arrived.
stowed again.
Make sure to put your tray tables away and ensure your seats are in their full upright position with your seatbelts fastened. We appreciate your cooperation.
Okay, good. It did that,
You're welcome,
handled that
Captain.
flawlessly, and Emma did a great job because she finished her announcement and then responded to. Okay, things are looking good. .230 is a nice speed at this point. In fact, 230 is a speed limit. If we look at the right here, 230 above 6,000, and looking at the chart as well, we can see that right there, max 230 at Obdeb. Then it'll be max 185 at Bavur, which is not in here. So I wonder, I'm going to see if I can put in 180/3700, and if I can put that into 123. Excellent. So that will now force us to be at 3,700, which sometimes with the above ones, sometimes the profile puts you above them, too much above them, and I'd like to be right at them. And it's also going to hopefully slow us down to 180 for that. It's set 185. I put 180. I'm not going to fix it. I think 180 is fine. Now we're already if I read this correctly, we're between F15 and SF5, so slats and flaps 5. We can technically go to flaps. That's slats. Okay. Yeah, so we've got the slats extended, which you can kind of see from this angle a little bit. It's hard to see from the top or the front, but you can kind of see it. Yeah, they're extended. Speed flight plan. So that means it's following a flight plan speed restriction of 230. I imagine it'll slow down momentarily to 180 though. Again, vertical profile looking very good. I can zoom in a bit more here. Looks like we're right on track to be at 3,700 at Bavor and then 2,510 on our approach fix. I assume once we turn towards the approach, I'm just going to hit the approach button, but I don't know. This is an RNAV, so it's a little bit simpler than an ILS. I think for an ILS, we actually would have had to switch to nav instead of FMS, I think. But since we're doing an RNAV, we won't have to deal with that. Here's us slowing down to 180, which also means I should be able to safely go to flaps 5 now, because we'll be below that F15 mark. In fact, we can probably even do flaps 15. I don't know if the plane's going to yell at us for not having the landing gear out yet, so let's give it a shot. Flaps 15. There's the red marker there just at the top, so flaps are coming down. Very nice view here for the turn. Put my phone away. No such thing as good thing as texting and landing. And we've missed our altitude. I've just realized. We missed it because we only got to 6,000 and they never cleared us any further. So, we have to catch up. I wonder if we can do it still in time. Let's give it a try. I've just set it to, we'll do 2,500. Flight level change, speed brake out. I think we should have enough time to make this and catch up. But that is something where Say Intentions let us down a little bit there, because they just kind of left us at 6,000 without any further descent steps. That happens sometimes, unfortunately. So at some point I just go and overrule what ATC has given me. Unless it's an ILS, in which case they vector us, but usually with an RNAV, and there were no indication of vectors. I feel like it got a little bit confused for some reason. So we should be able to catch up here. We're descending at a pretty good 2,800 feet per minute, which should be far below. Should be at 2,500 right now. I'm going to attempt to hit the approach button. So it does have ALGP. That's good. And let's catch it. Let's catch it. I just realized I don't know if you can see that. There we go. V out. Did we miss it though is the thing. I think we missed it. Yeah, we missed it. So let's go to descent some more. Need to get below that. And if I can't get here now with this, then we're going to have to hand fly this approach, which is fine because it would actually be a good experience to see. I'm going to go gear down. The GP. There we go. Still the speed brakes. We're good. Now, is it going to... Flaps full, and it automatically switches to approach speed. Nice on the auto throttle. That's great. It even says speed app. So that is very good. So gear. Looking out of the wheel bay, this is a pretty sweet camera angle. Okay, can we see the airport yet? I love this heat blur. You can't see anything. It's
Canada Air
amazing.
3023. Contact
There's the
Hobart Tower
runway.
on 118.1.
118.1 Canada Air 3023. Tower Canada Air 3023 inbound RNAV 30 whiskey. Kind of messed up those words.
Canada Air 3023. Hobart Tower, wind 010 at 3. Runway 30 cleared to land.
Clear to land, runway 30, Canada Air 3023. I think once we get this lined up, we have flaps full, gears down. I don't remember if there is a speed brake arm thing in this plane or not. No, there's not. Okay. No arm spoiler things. This, by the way, is the door from the... This is a really nice animation. I guess we've got coffee now. Ooh, I can get coffee. Oh, sweet. A microwave? Hand sanitizer. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Probably not the best time. Oh! Mood lighting. Not the best time to play with this. Let's focus on the front of the airplane. Here we go. I'm going to disconnect the autopilot. Because I want to hand fly this. Okay, yep, we're good. Just because I want to get a feel for it. See how she goes. Very smooth. We don't have much of a wind at all here though, so that's also very handy. And okay, yeah, I just basically moved the throttles, which did impact the auto throttle. And I should be able to disengage it from here. Yep, auto throttle's off. There are no altitude callouts, I guess. I imagine you don't flare very much if it's anything like the CJ4. Okay, as I said, I do not have reversers. We just have spoilers and manual brakes here in a moment. We'll see how much the spoilers could do. Not very much manual brake. Brakes are not that strong. I guess I gotta figure out the reversers sooner rather than later. It's a good thing we have a long runway. Yeah, the brakes are definitely not super brakes. Okay, good to know. Can't play around with that too much. I will go and start the APU.
Canada Air 3023. Welcome to Hobart. Contact ground on 121.7.
Hey folks, welcome to our
121.7 Canada Air 3023.
3023, departing from Melbourne. The current local time here in Hobart is 12:51 p.m. Please remain seated until we reach our final parking position. Did you know that Hobart is home to the famous Salamanca Market, which showcases local produce and crafts every Saturday? Thank you for flying with Canada Air, and we hope you enjoy your time in this beautiful city.
APU on and on the generator. Boy, this thing just motors. Oh, for some reason my engines did not go fully to idle. That's interesting. Oh, that must have been when I disabled the auto throttle. I was already at idle or something like that. Okay, that's good to know. I think I have to... Basically, if you're going to disable the auto throttle, make sure you move the levers afterwards. It's not going to jump exactly to the right position. But that was a pretty smooth landing. I know it's at minus 240, which for me, honestly, is a good landing. And it felt very stable. Don't know why I have generic liveries there. I shouldn't have that. Oh, I think I've disabled all my model libraries. Yes, I did, because I wanted the sim to load fast. So that is actually injected traffic from Say Intentions, but it's using generic liveries because I unlinked all my FSLTL and AIG and so on and so forth. So it's doing the best it can with what I've given it. Thank you, Steve. I'm looking forward to flying this again tomorrow on our Canada Air virtual IFR Friday event. We'll be flying into Oshkosh from somewhere in Canada. I forgot where we're starting. We're starting in Canada, flying to Oshkosh. I'll be flying the Citation 10. I hope some of the guys from the VA will be flying something similar, or the CJ4. I just painted the CJ3 Plus for one of our pilots. So it'll be should be a nice evening tomorrow. Nice flight. I'm looking forward to getting more hours behind this Citation 10. I am in fact going to start another flight immediately following this one. I think I'm going to do it without say intentions because I don't have all my models loaded anyway, but I'm just going to do a flight Vancouver to Honolulu, 6 hours overnight. That's kind of my pressure test for an airplane to see how well it deals with, you know, a long flight performance-wise, and then also the fact that it is going to be paused in the sim for a significant amount of time while I slumber and sleep. So let's see if we can not run over this lovely person here. We'll just give them a little boop with the nose. Just right there is good. Let's see if we can shut this down gracefully. Parking brakes are on. APU is on, so I should be able to just put the throttle levers into the cutoff position. And I can also disengage the engines from there. That is my ACARS client saying my flight was logged. Flaps should go up. I should have done that before the taxi. Landing lights are already off. Taxi light can come off. APU, leave it on for a moment here. We'll get the seatbelt signs off. The ANIT collision lights off. Recognition nav lights off. Pitot heats off. IRS is off. Emergency lights disarmed. And finally, let's turn off the APU and the batteries. And that's it. With 4 minutes to spare. So in the last 4 minutes, what we can do is go in here, ground services. Let's set the chocks, open the main door, luggage door, put the covers back on, put everything to sleep, go outside. Beautiful plane. Really, really well designed. I don't think there was a single issue in the flight. The only thing that gave us a little bit of extra work to do during the approach, frankly, was ATC. But as far as the Citation 10 by FlightFX, I said it in my post. I think it sounds amazing. It looks amazing. The systems are fully fleshed out for everything I wanted to do. It supports all my hardware in a way that I can make work without pulling my hair out or going more and more gray. And it's a joy to fly. And it's very versatile. It can fly short hops. It can fly relatively short runways. It can fly long range, 3,000 mile, 8-hour flights. It does it fast and high. And this is the business jet that I've been waiting for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've been jealous for years of the Hot Start Challenger in X-Plane. This is not quite the same level, but this is also $30 instead of $110 or whatever the Hot Start costs. Very well done. Congratulations to FlightFX. I know they've worked really hard on this, and I look forward to any future updates they bring, including spelling typo corrections inside the cockpit. But yeah, so far, no issues at all. Very happy with it. I should be a salesman, shouldn't I? Well, I'll sell you on shacknews.com. Now, if you don't go there every day to check the latest gaming news, guides, reviews, and long story reads, you really should. And you can find all of our socials along the top of the screen here. I will be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, for a couple hours. Not sure what we'll do yet. We might be doing some more DayZ. We might be going back to the farm, or we might hit the skies again for another little trip. Thanks for hanging out and watching. Steve, I will talk to you tomorrow, and everybody else, thanks for hanging out tonight and tuning in. I'll catch you again soon. Have a good night, folks.